This is Darrin L. Harris, and I want to thank you for joining me. I'm here on God's green earth to help leaders increase their influence so that they can build high-performing, high-impacting, and sustainable organizations. There is an ancient but relevant book that says, if you are sensible, you will control your temper. When someone wrongs you, it is of great virtue to ignore it. That's Proverbs 19:11. Here's what I know. Because clearly, if someone wrongs you and have the sole purpose and intent of hurting you, that is not about you. That is about them. And that's why today I want to talk to you and I want to teach you how to turn your pain into power and your power into profit. Here's what I know. Difficult people defy logic. Some are blissfully unaware of the negative impact that they have on those around them. And others seem to derive satisfaction from creating chaos and pushing other people's buttons. Do you know anyone like that? Either way, they create unnecessary complexity, strife, and worst of all, stress. Studies have long shown that stress can have a lasting negative impact on the brain. Exposure to even a few days of stress compromises the effectiveness of neurons in the hippocampus, an important brain area responsible for reasoning and memory. Stress is a threat to our success. When stress gets out of control, your brain and your performance will suffer. Most sources of stress at work are easily identified. There was a study done by the Department of Biological and Clinical Psychology in Germany, and what they found is that exposure to stimuli that cause strong negative emotions, the same kind of exposure you get when dealing with difficult people, cause subjects' brains to have a massive stress response. Whether it's negativity, cruelty, the victim syndrome, or plain craziness, difficult people drive your brain into a stressed out state that should be avoided at all costs. Look here, the ability to manage your emotions and remain calm under pressure has a direct link to your performance. There was also another study done with more than 1 million people, and what they found is that 90% of top performers are skilled at managing their emotions in times of stress in order to remain calm and in control. One of their greatest gifts is the ability to neutralize difficult people. These top performers have well-honed coping strategies that they employ to keep difficult people at bay. While I've run across numerous effective strategies that smart people employ when dealing with difficult people, what follows are some of the best. To deal with difficult people effectively, you need an approach that enables you across the board to control what you can and eliminate what you can't. The important thing is to remember that you are in control. Let me say that again. The important thing is for you to remember that you are in control for far more than you realize. So here, I want to give you a few suggestions. Here's number one. You need to set limits. Complainers and negative people are bad news because they wallow in their problems and fail to focus on solutions. They want people to join their pity party so that they can feel better about themselves. There's a fine line between lending an ear of sympathy and getting sucked into their negative emotional spiral. You can avoid this only by setting limits and distancing yourself when necessary. Think of it this way. If a complainer were smoking, you would sit there all afternoon inhaling secondhand. Would you sit there inhaling secondhand smoke? You distance yourself, and you should do the same with complainers. A great way to set limits is to ask complainers how they intend to fix the problem. They will either quiet down or redirect the conversation in a productive way. The second thing is we rise above. Difficult people drive you crazy because their behavior is so irrational. And make no mistake about it, their behavior truly goes against reason. So why do you allow yourself to respond to them emotionally and get sucked into the mix? The more irrational and off base someone is, the easier it should be for you to remove yourself from their traps. Quit trying to beat them at their own game. Distance yourself from them emotionally and approach your interaction like they're a science project. You don't need to respond to the emotional chaos. Only facts. The third thing that I want to share with you is that you need to remain aware of your emotions. Maintaining an emotional distance requires awareness. Look, you can't stop someone from pushing your buttons if you don't recognize when it's happening. Sometimes you'll find yourself in situations where you need to regroup and choose the best way forward. This is fine if you shouldn't be afraid to buy yourself some time to do so. Think of it this way. If a mentally unstable person approaches you on the street and says to you that he's Jonathan, you're unlikely to set him straight. When you find yourself with a coworker, someone in your life who is engaged in similarly deranged thinking, sometimes it's best to just smile and nod. If you're going to have to straighten them out, it's better to give yourself some time to plan the best way to go about it. The fourth thing that I want to encourage you to do is establish boundaries. This is the area where most people tend to sell themselves short. I know that I've been guilty in this area. But we have to learn to set clear boundaries. Sometimes it may feel difficult to set these clear boundaries because you either work with that person or you live with them. And you seem as if you have no other alternative, no other choice to control the chaos. Now, this couldn't be further from the truth. Once you found your way to rise above the person, you begin to find that their behavior more predictable and easier to understand. This will equip you to think rationally about when and where you have to put up with them and when you don't. For example, even if you work with someone closely on a project, that doesn't mean you need to have the same level one-on-one interaction with them as you do with the others. You can establish a boundary, but you have to do so consciously and proactively. If you let things happen naturally, you are bound to find yourself constantly embroiled in difficult conversations. If you set boundaries and decide when and where you'll engage a difficult person, you can control much of the chaos. The only trick is to stick to your guns and keep boundaries in place when the person tries to encroach upon you, which they will. Here's the fifth thing. It's important for you to understand that you don't die in the fight. You don't let or allow a difficult person cause you to die in the fight. Here's what I know about smart people. Smart people know how important it is to live and to fight another day. I mean, it is human to have self-preservation, especially when your foe is a toxic individual. Conflict, unchecked emotions makes you dig your heels in and fight the kind of battle that can leave you severely damaged. When you read and respond to your emotions, you're able to choose your battles wisely and only stand your ground when it is time to fight. Here's the sixth thing. We don't focus on problems. We focus on solutions. We don't get stuck in the pollution, but we get to the solution. So where you focus your attention determines your emotional state. When you begin to fixate on your problems that you're facing, when you fixate on the problems you're facing, you create a prolonged negative emotions and stress. When you focus on actions to better yourself and your circumstances, you create a sense of personal efficacy that produces positive emotions. It reduces stress and you get productive results. When it comes to toxic people, fixating on how crazy and difficult they are gives them power over you. Don't give too much time and attention to their madness. Quit thinking about how troubling that difficult person is and focus instead on how you're going to go about handling them. This makes you more effective by putting you in control, and it will reduce the amount of stress you experience when interacting with them. This is the seventh thing. We don't forget. Look, emotional, intelligent people are quick to forgive, but that doesn't mean that we're going to forget. Forgiveness requires letting go of what's happened so that you can move on. Look here, it doesn't mean that you'll give a wrongdoer another chance. Here's what I know about smart people. Smart people are unwilling to be bogged down unnecessarily by others' mistakes. So they just let them go quickly and are assertive in protecting themselves from future harm. Number 8, you gotta learn to squash negative talk, negative self-talk, self-doubting beliefs. Sometimes we get caught up in the trap and we absorb the negativity of other people. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad about how someone is treating you, but your self-talk, what you say to yourself, The thoughts that you have and the feelings that you have about yourself can either intensify the negativity or help you move past it. Negative self-talk is unrealistic, unnecessary, and self-defeating, self-limiting. It sends you into a downward emotional spiral that is difficult to pull out. You should avoid negative self-talk at all costs. And that's why you're doing the right thing right now, by listening to this. And so whenever you find yourself in a situation and you need some encouragement, visit this page. This is where we help individuals increase their influence so that they can build high-performing, high-impacting, and sustainable organizations that change their part of the world. It is difficult to be influential when you're bogged down with unnecessary, toxic relationships. My name is Darrin L. Harris, and not only am I here to help you, but I'm here to hope you. The ninth thing that I want to share with you is that it's important to you got to get some sleep. You got to get some rest. And this has been one of the challenges that I've had over the years. And here's what I know: our experience makes us the expert. So I'm sharing this with you because I've been guilty of this particular one. And I talk about it over and over again and probably beat it over the head. And I can't say enough about how important it is for sleep. Because here's what happens when we sleep: we increase our emotional intelligence. And it also helps us to manage our stress levels. When we sleep, our brain literally recharges so that when we wake up alert and clear-headed. Your self-control, attention, and memory are all reduced when you don't get enough or the right kind of sleep. Sleep deprivation raises stress hormonal levels on its own, even without the stressor present. A good night's sleep makes you more positive, creative, and proactive in your approach to toxic people, giving you a perspective you need to deal with them effectively. This is the 10th and the final thing that I want to share with you, and I hope this helps. It's important to understand you need a support system. Not only do you need a support system, you must use the support system that you create. And I know that it's tempting, yet entirely ineffective, to attempt tackling everything by yourself. To deal with toxic people, you need to recognize the weakness in your approach to them. This means tapping into your support system to gain perspective on a challenging person. One of the things that I share with people a lot is that meaningful mentorship matters. Meaningful mentorship absolutely matters. Now, everyone has someone at work or outside of work who is on their team. Someone who is rooting for them, ready to help them get through the best. Hold on. Now, everyone has someone, either personally or professionally, who is on your team, and those individuals, they're rooting for you, and they want you to do your best and to be able to get through any difficult situation. Something as simple as explaining the situation can lead to a new perspective. Most of the time, other people can see the solution that you can't, because they are not as emotionally invested in that situation. I call that seeing things from the balcony. Because many times when we're on the dance floor, we're so busy dancing and trying not to bump into others that our perspective and our perception could be off. So it's really important that sometimes we identify individuals in our lives who are in the balcony of that situation and who are not on the dance floor. So the final thing that I'll say is that before you can get your system to work flawlessly, you're going to have to pass some tests. Most of the time, you'll find yourself tested by touchy interactions with problematic, toxic, difficult people. Thankfully, the plasticity of the brain allows it to mold and change as you practice new behaviors. And even when we fail. What's important is that we implement these healthy, stress-relieving techniques for dealing with difficult people so that we can train our brain to handle stress more effectively and, of course, decrease the likelihood of negative effects. Once again, this is Darrin L. Harris, and I want to thank you for taking your time to listen to this message. I hope that has been helpful. If you haven't already, I would like for you to subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button. If you hit that little bell over there, anytime we post new messages, you'll be the first to get it. Remember, leaders who lead with love, they never lose. It's always a win-win, and you're in it to win it. God bless you. God keep you. This is my prayer.